All right, everyone, welcome. Welcome, everyone. So we have been talking about the imposter syndrome and the path toward the new earth as being so unsteady and so unclear that what was visible to us and was certain, and that we as Homo sapien have survived because we have been able to, or cunning and intelligence, predict what was going to happen. And we have moved to put ourselves to safety with that idea in mind. What's happening right now around the world and the planet, given all of the rapid changes that we have to go through, that kind of predictability is mutating and is changing right in front of our eyes. I've often referred to it as that the bridge that will lead us into the new earth is actually an emerging awareness, an unknown, yet at the same time emerging awareness that will reveal itself maybe a few hours or a few days or moment by moment before we make it. So it means that you have to be so deeply connected to your intuitive knowing. You have to be so surrendered to this blessed field. You have to be so connected to your higher power that you allow that to take control. And this is for us who are in 3D and who are very linear and very tactical, particularly when you're very frontal lobe and calculating and measuring and adding and subtracting kind of person, you're gonna have a hard time, because these measures and these way of being are no longer valid, because things are changing and they're changing so rapidly. When you think you're over something and you've done it and you think that this is the right path, that path in a couple of days, in a week's time, or definitely before the end of the month, changes into a different landscape. Then you have to realize, I have to shift my center of gravity somewhere else. I have to, a lot of intuitives and psychics are having a hard time, because when they pray and they think they have the insight about something, they think that insight is telling them, for example, this is where you're supposed to move your business into. You're supposed to, or your money or your home, you have to move to this location, blah, blah, blah. I have a client of mine that keeps moving in California all over the place, because her guides are telling her to move, blah, blah, blah. She moves there, and the next thing you know, there's a wildfire. And then she has to move. She moved 4 times already because of wildfire. At one point she was in the desert in California, near the Joshua Tree. She moved all the way north and I'm not saying that at the moment that these experiences were not necessary. They had insight, and the guides were guiding her to go there for a very specific reason. But you have to also have emotional, psychological, and spiritual agility to know, and that she has, to be able to move on the fly. And she didn't have a choice, because fire started. And the moment it started, you can't breathe. You have to flee. You have to get out. And there's a lot of that going on. And it doesn't have to be as dramatic as big natural climate change events. It could be emotional. It could be deeply and profoundly emotional. And that awareness of the emotional stuff is going on right now, because Mercury is retrograde. And one of the things I've noticed for me, since even in the shadow period, before even it went retrograde, a lot of individuals, a lot of situation, a lot of emotional stuff that were in my past that I thought I had overcome, that I thought were not, I'm never going to deal with this again, or showing up again. Individuals that I have not heard from, that I've completely disconnected with from way, 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 way back, going 10 years, 15 years, all showing up, or trying. Even today, somebody is trying to put me in a WhatsApp group that I have not seen, oh, at least 15 years. You know, and I'm just watching it for now. I don't know what this group is about. But again, I have to monitor this very clearly, because Mercury, when Mercury is retrograde and these things are coming up, it's an opportunity to revisit. But it doesn't mean that what you're revisiting is healthy for you. So you have to go in with emotional intelligence. These people that are coming from your past, that want to have emotional connection to you, that want to capture your time, that wants to, how is that impacting you right now? Because you're not the person you were 10, 15 years ago. You're a different individual. Where you are right now, and particularly the bus that you're in, does this person belong on the bus? Or are you going to have, by that relationship, be held back from moving where you're going? And these are all the things that need to happen, because we belong to multiple group bodies, and these group entanglements are pulling us in different directions. There are things that were not finished, that were not terminated, they're showing up again. And they are connecting us to things and all that, and we have to figure out a way to disconnect and say, I'm not doing this. By choice, we have to decide, I'm not doing this. I'm moving on. I'm going into something else. And so I'm noticing a lot of that happening for me. I'm noticing a lot of emotions and feelings of either, as we were talking about, I was talking a little bit earlier with Janice, and imposter syndromes, a lot of things that were not. And it's not just imposter syndrome for me, because as far as the healing and the stuff that I'm doing, I can feel a little bit vindicated, if that is the right term. I don't think it's the right emotion I'm trying to display. Not that I need proof, but people are beginning to understand that the perception and the predictions and everything else that I was sharing way back 2014, 2016, 2018, that were actually correct. Because this is what's happening in the world right now. And people, yet at the same token, and this is where people are separating themselves from you or from others, because at the same token, when I send these emails out to the group, to the list, and particularly when I'm talking about, let's say, archons, or I'm talking about natural disasters and all that, and I'm careful I spend sometimes days working on the language, because I don't want people to misinterpret me or misconstrue me. No, I don't want to be controversial, in the sense that I'm going to say the cosmic truth as I see it, talking about the fact that both part of the bifurcations are being toxically influenced by the dark forces, and that there's a third path, a path of neutrality, and that's the bridge we should be focusing on. When I send this email out, I have at least one or two people who are always unsubscribed to the list, because in their version, they are so polarized and so radicalized that what I'm saying is heresy. And they're so intolerant of it that they don't want to hear anything from me. And it's fine, because they're not my boss. I'm not taking it personally, but I've noticed this, okay? That people are peeling off because they are realizing, and I wanna ask all of you, I'm gonna invite you into becoming more tolerant, not with the relationship that are coming back in your life that you have to walk away from. You have to create boundaries and be very clear. Like somebody, again, that created chaos in my life 10 years ago, with my student, creating all kind of nonsense, all kind of craziness, okay? And then wanted to reconnect back into my life, right? And then started to ask me, if I want a friendship with you, I want this, that, or the other. I'm like, no, I haven't thought about you in 10 years. In fact, when he says his name, he had to remind me who he was. I'm like, no, I don't trust you. I'm not going to mince word. You want a relationship, I'm changed, I'm this, I said, this is your word. I know what the pattern is. I don't want anything that's connected to that energy. I don't want anything connected to it. I'm moving on. I'm going on somewhere else. I don't want that frequency. I don't want that vibration. Because this is somebody that's the people of the lie, that's highly manipulative, and that's an expert at creating drama and crises to basically emotionally entangle somebody like me to run to rescue. I'm not doing this anymore. Okay? I'm not that broken that I have to do this anymore. I can say to myself, no, I'm not doing this. I'm a good luck on your journey. I wish you good luck. Be happy. Find love. Find whatever it is that you're looking for. But as far as a friendship between you and I don't see it. Because once you betray my trust, and you did, I will not trust you again. Even if I say it, in my heart, I will always be looking at you with a side eye, expecting a betrayal to come. I will never be able to be comfortable or to be vulnerable around you again. So that boundary I have to clearly establish. Okay? But what I'm saying is that keeping that distance, this is not somebody I'm angry with. And I said it completely calm. I'm not upset. I'm not yelling. I'm just saying that as far as a friendship, the way we were friends before, it can happen. I'm done. You understand? And as far as going forward, I am, with other people that were in my life that have different opinion, that have different belief system, that have different idea about where the world is going, that have different values, people who are in other buses, and that will lead them into different bridges, not the bridge that leads to the new earth, not the third path, but on, whatever other path that they are in. I am asking all of you, I'm inviting you to be more tolerant of them. And I'm not saying to engage them with exchange necessarily, because these people tend to be very close-minded, and they tend to, I recently had a friend of mine, and this is something that had happened several years before, even before COVID. He had invited me to a rooftop party, and you have to meet this woman. She's really fabulous, and she does this. I forgot the name of the book. It's a very popular book called, well, I can't remember the name of it, but some sort of spiritual book, blah, 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 and so on and so forth. When I met this woman, we began to have a quick conversation. And as we were having the conversation, all of a sudden, everything that I said about, because it was all healers, everything I said about spirituality, this woman was trying to turn me around to tell me every answer that there exists in that book. And that everything is about the book, and the woman who wrote it is 90 years old, and everything going back to 400 something dimension, everything is in there, everything you need. And it was going on and on and on and on to the point that I couldn't put a word in. And then after she finished saying what she said, what do you think? What do you think? Oh, what do you think? You want to buy? I'm like, this woman is in a cult. So fast forward, I eventually walked away. I left. I said, whatever it is that you're pushing, you're being too aggressive, and you need to step. I'm going to step away from you. And I walked away and I left the party. Now, fast forward to recently, he contacted me, the common friend, the one who had the party, and trying to have me have a conversation with the same woman. And I said to him, I said, I'm not having a conversation with her. Again, this is the thing from the past that are coming forward. I said, I'm not having a conversation with her. Why is that, and so on and so forth? I said, at your party so many years ago, you had introduced me to her. I said, I have to be very honest with you and frank. This woman feels to me like she's in a cult. Whatever it is that she's pushing, it was not a conversation or an exchange. She was trying to proselytize to me, and I couldn't put a word in. I was completely muted, I was quiet, and I eventually walked away. I have no interest whatsoever having any exchange with that kind of energy. So if you find somebody that's in that state, of course, you cannot have any intelligent conversation because they are so radicalized that they are not, there is no clarity, there is no sense of, them having or listening. They have no listening ability. They only know how to repeat the what they have been brainwashed into saying. And so I don't have time to, nor the tolerance, nor the, the desire, because I have better things to do to entertain that kind of exchange. So I'd rather spend my time writing, thinking, meditating, or having conversation with people who I can actually exchange ideas with, who are have similar concern that I have, and I can have a conversation. I can listen to them, they can listen to me. I can get an insight from what they're saying and understand things in a different way, because nobody can understand that the multifaceted experience of this bridge to the new earth that we're going through by your own personal experience. You have to share the experience with others in order for you to understand the full scope. And through the mirror of someone else's experiences, you begin to see that multiple things can be valid at the same time. The problem with these kind of people I'm describing is that they don't see everything is linear, everything is causal, it's one cause, one effect. Whereas what we're going through is it's like seeing through a kaleidoscope. There are so many things that are happening at the same time that you have to acclimate yourself to a different way of knowing and a different way of perceiving. And a lot of time, other people's perspective is exactly what you need in order for you to elevate your understanding and being able to see, understand, and know in a completely different way. So I appreciate when someone else is bringing me that perspective and giving me the opportunity to be able to expand my awareness. But I'm not having a conversation nor an exchange with somebody that I feel is such narrow-minded that I can't put a word in. Okay, let me send this next. So it's important that I have that perspective and that insight so that I am now in a better, yet at the same time, there are people who are still in different paths or going through different bridges that are open enough to have normal conversation, that are not trying to convert me, rally me, radicalize me, and so on and so forth. I have complete openness and tolerance and acceptance and compassion for their choice. You see what I'm saying? There's a difference. And the difference is that on the one hand, there's an intolerance and there's a kind of like, it's like a Jehovah's Witness coming to your house, forgive me, Jehovah's Witnesses, trying to save you. Whereas in this other instance, these other individuals have a certain perspective, a certain understanding, but they are not necessarily trying to force me into the rightness of their understanding. They will accept me being different and we can still be friends. If I have individuals that are in that state in my life, I don't have a problem having a relationship with them. I don't have a problem having a conversation, meeting with them, talking, exchanging, etc., etc. So when I see people who have other perspective on either side of the polarization and the bifurcation that are in that state, I am still friends with them. I don't have the same in-depth conversation and connection like I'm having with you or my tribe who are on the third path. But I am still having a conversation and exchange with them. And I am, in some instances, praying and hoping that the emerging frequency of the new earth can reach them at some point in the future, and that they will hopefully find their way into this third path. You see what I'm trying to say? It's a nuanced thing. And we have friends, we have family members that are in both camps. Some of them are so extreme and so lost that there is no reason to have a conversation with them. Others are holding some part of that belief system there, and yet they are still nice people to hang out with. They are still people you can have a conversation with. Their personalities have not completely changed, where they have become somebody else completely. Because when someone is purely radicalized, they're not the same person anymore. It's a new psyche that's been inserted in them. Any questions, any comments so far? Mind Control 101. If you want to understand it, I'll just mention that in passing. The way these individuals are rallied in, they usually have a pet peeve issue. And I think I mentioned this before. And the pet peeve issue might be, let's say, for example, natural medicine, or, they are against child trafficking, or whatever the issue may be, okay? And there are lots of fake websites that people have set up. And a lot of these people, when they're talking, do your own research, go online, do your research. A lot of these websites that they tell you to go to and will lead you into are fake. They are deliberately being created to derail you and to poison your consciousness. They are not coming from authoritative source, although they claim to be doctors, that or the other. A lot of them are claiming to be doctors. There was a woman, there was a documentary that was done with this woman in Australia that was a doctor, this, that, or the other. She's not a medical doctor. She's a doctor in anthropology or something else. But she has all these medical books and all medical research, and she's claiming medical expertise because she read these papers. She has no expertise whatsoever. And she's extremely influential in that world. Anyway, so be that as it may, when you enter these websites or these groups, information that's being given to you initially are information that that connects to your pet peeve. Let's say, for example, it's child trafficking. There's a lot of information that are correct about the wrong and the abuse and everything else that's happening with child trafficking. But very quickly, that truth begins to get corrupted with the demonization of, or the blame being put upon very specific individuals or group by blaming them directly as responsible for that wrong. And then they're asking you to go out in the world and destroy the world and destroy these people and burn them and do whatever is necessary. They should die, they should be hung, et cetera, et cetera. And it happened very gradually, but it doesn't take as long as you think it would take. Because initially, all of the information are partially correct. there has to be a fracturing event that occurs. And a lot of, for example, for the child trafficking, the fracturing event that they tell you in this website is that the people that they are blaming, the so-called cabal that they are blaming, are actually eating children alive. They're cannibals. They are reptilian demons and cannibals who are eating children alive. And these people actually believe that to be true. And because they believe it to be true, they are emotionally foaming at the mouth and their head is spinning out of control. And once you ferment that kind of reaction, you can begin to tell them, now you need to go and burn things. The fracturing has to happen. Your version of reality, the way you perceive the world, the way you see your reality, they're going to deconstruct it for you. And then they're going to tell you something extraordinary, horrible is happening because of it. And then you need to go out there, or I mean, I can give you multiple examples, but I'm usually just this one example. And then you need to go out there and you need to attack and destroy and violently create changes. And then this person is completely changed. Because now, after destroying the belief system, they are now inserting a new belief. And then now your personality is shifted into something else. This is mind control 101. Now, it doesn't mean, like some people that I know, for example, believe in natural medicine, and the other one that eventually get derailed into believing in all kind of weird conspiracy theory about health and what's going on with the pandemic, et cetera, et cetera. I don't want to get into that and argue with anybody. But a lot of them are actually reasonable people, and they're still friends of mine. And a lot of people that I know also believe in the child pornography, anti-child pornography and all that. And I'm anti all of this. I believe in natural medicine. This is the tradition. I grew up in Haiti. Everything, we go to the bush, herb plant for everything. But we are not anti-modern medicine. We are able to find a connection between the two. So what I'm saying is that there is an overcorrection on both sides of this bifurcation. And a lot of time people get glamorized by the shiny things, by the strong emotional stuff, because they don't have the same level of emotional intelligence that you and I may have, to realize that that part is true, but that part that's inserting the fear and saying all this crazy stuff, that's not true. Although you're claiming expertise and you're claiming having the right document, I don't believe it. And I need to walk away. They don't have that kind of because they have put the entire belief system into this person's or this community or this website expertise. So I'm saying this because I want you to understand the kind of openness and acceptance and tolerance that we need to have. Now, I'm not Kuan Yin. I'm not the Bodhisattva of compassion, as I've just laid out earlier. There are certain individuals I will tell point blank, I don't want to have anything to do with you. Because if you're really coming at me with this kind of I'm going to convert you, you need to change, it's just a turn off for all, because it's moving against my sovereignty and my will. I don't want to have anything to do with you, right? I don't have the same tolerance that Kuan Yin would have to even try to save, even according to the legend of Kuan Yin. Kuan Yin is trying to make sure that every human being goes back into enlightenment, but she's also helping all the demons too, to find a way to reintegrate and to accept their true cosmic identity. Because the demons were angels that are fallen. And therefore, she's trying to find a way to merge them back. I'm not there yet. Maybe someday I will. I'm not claiming this is where I am, but at least a level of kindness and compassion for others. to realize that they are on their own path, although, because if I were to really push out everybody that has a view that's not related to the third path and the path that we are in, I would have very few friends, because there's very few of us that are doing this kind of work of neutrality. Okay? I will share with you my heart, I will be completely vulnerable and be completely authentic with all of you, because that's where I feel safe, where I can be vulnerable. But to other people that may be on different paths, I'm not going to be as vulnerable. I will reveal only a little bit of me. I'm not going to be fake, but I'm not going to open myself up and be completely vulnerable to them. And I will listen to them, because sometimes, and again, a lot of time when they're talking, when my friends who are on those other path, when they're talking, all I have to do is remain silent. I don't have to say anything. This is, I have to accept the fact that this is where they are right now. They actually believe this. This is where they are. And I don't have to respond. It's not everything that someone says that I have to reply back. Right? And if I can see this and have the acceptance and the tolerance for this, and I'm like, I actually have seen one person that I know who was actually at the Capitol, at the right in the Capitol, because 2 days before she said that she was going to go there. She had booked a hotel down in DC. She was there. And I've noticed that now she's changed. I don't know if she was inside the building. I'm not sure where she was, because I don't, I deliberately no, because I've noticed all of the radical thing that she was supposed to. I distanced myself. I pulled myself away. And she was there. She probably was not in the Capitol, because if she was inside the building, the Justice Department and the FBI would be after her, because they pinned everybody's cell phone that were inside, and the video evidence and all that. She would have been in trouble. Maybe she was outside, but she was there. But I've noticed now some of the old belief is still there. There is a shift that she's acknowledging that she was dramatically influenced because of the trauma that she had as a child when she was growing up. She posted about this. And again, this is where I feel that my acceptance of where she was, without throwing it, because I could have unfriended her. I could have done many things and say, I'm never going to talk to you again. You're crazy. I could have done many of these things. But I decided, no, let me give everybody else the space to emancipate and to grow. Right? I'm not going to tolerate if you're trying to attack me and abuse me or try to convert me. Those are the boundaries that I'm holding. But I'm not allowing. I can allow myself. I can allow myself to be kind and to be loving to other people who are, struggling through the illusion and the Maya that the Archon are spinning for the planet. So I can allow myself to accept all of this. Okay, so this is interesting to me, because I'm trying to explain this to you in a way to kind of make you understand that there is nuances. This is what Janice and I were talking about before, when we talked about the fact that you have no sense of predictability. Things are not just black and white. Not only are they gray colors, they're gray shades, but everything is in a kaleidoscope, multiple colors. And they are not just on a flat plane. It's all around us. And we have to, out of that, discern and find the right path, the bridge that will lead us into the ascended tomorrow. It certainly made things more interesting. That's for sure. And again, the key for me, and it's counter to my sign, I'm a Capricorn. The key is to surrender to your higher power. My sign is sure-footed. We take a lot of risks. We climb the highest mountain. We do all, the mountain goat can do all kind of crazy stuff. They're the most impossible, we will get there. But we are actually extremely calculating and sure-footed. And for me to exist in a space where there's this kind of like, I don't know if I'm going to make it, or better yet, I'm going to surrender it into a higher power. Thus, the cultivation of the relationship. I remember when I received the first channeling of the Galactic Region Council talking about all the changes. After they predicted it, they said, okay, here is what you need to do to actually thrive in the landscape of what's coming. And the first thing they talk about is the God concept, your relationship to your higher power. They talk about agility, they talk about some other stuff, sustainability, they talk about other stuff at all. But the first thing was about surrendering and cultivating an emotional, a deep, so if a balanced spiritual practice implies that you have to have prayer and you have to have meditation, where meditation is listening to God and prayer is talking to God, you should be praying a lot more. And I have that realization from the past month and a half has changed my practice quite a bit. I am spending a lot more time praying now, reciting mantras, praying, asking God, Kuan Yin, Mother Mary, all the ascended masters, the angels, the Galactic Region Council for mercy. I'm spending a lot more time doing this as a way to elevate everything and to, bring everything into a sense of surrender, because certainly what's happening around the planet right now is above my pay grade. I was talking to a friend, this is somebody I spiritually helped in the past, and I was talking about what's happening in the world right now, and I said, I can't help it. But everything you did for me, you can change everything. I'm like, no, this is above my pay grade. One of the things that recently I became aware of, and I mentioned this in some detail this morning in the council group at 9 o'clock this morning, the thing that I've noticed for me recently is that when you see the future, and I have to be in deep meditation and be completely neutral for that perception to show up. No fear, I have to surrender a lot of stuff and I have to let go and go into the feeling. And when I'm completely, exhale and let go of everything, sometimes I have visions and I see things or I hear things. When I see them in meditation, they are a potential for manifestation. There are things that are about to happen or about to occur, and they are on the cusp of showing up. If you continue to behave in that way, this is a potential. But it's not the only potential. It's the dominant potential at the time of the perception. But if you change X, Y, Z variable, if you move this, what you're doing this way, that way, you change that, it's going to change. It's going to alter course. It's going to create a different outcome. See what I'm saying? So it's important for us to understand this and to understand that and that in itself gives me a greater sense of control, right? When I see this for my clients, for the world, I can advise, I can say, if we change this, if we don't do this, if we're more tolerant, more accepting, more kind, if we share with others, we do this, blah, 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 the other, it will not come to pass. There's a second kind, for me, of perception which is a decided future, a future that's already been decided. And those I call omen. And generally speaking, for me, they come in dreams. And when they come in a dream, I know, and they're very scary for me because every time they show up, it's something catastrophic. And I don't like having them, to be perfectly honest. There are times I've asked Spirit to take this away from me because why do I need to know the bad things? And then when I know the bad thing, I am burdened with having to share with the rest of the world the bad thing. And I'm always the guy that's saying to everyone, bad things are going to happen. I don't want to be that person. So I had 4 weeks ago, maybe 5 weeks now, 5 weeks, the perception, 5 weeks ago, the perception of, or the dream of a tsunami. And I did a whole class about this. The tsunami was like 200 feet wave that was coming in and very scary, very tall, and so on and so forth. And I was like, it scared me because I know when I have these dreams, they are going to happen. I had it's the same kind of vivid awareness and dream when I had this, the dream of 9/11 4 days before. So I know when I have these dreams and they show my dream, this is a decided future and it cannot be changed. In other words, the wave function collapse, the potential, there's a point where if enough people choose that as a way for them to learn a lesson, because the karma is not about punishment. The word karma in Hebrew is tikkun, and it means to repair and to correct. It's not about punishment. So if enough of us decided we're going to experience this as a way for us to realize, to awake, it's going to be a bad experience, but we're going to awake and we're going to realize, we shouldn't be doing this. So it's the wisdom that we need to get out of it, right? So when this experience, when it's a potential, multiple of the potential, it has not touched down yet, okay? The wave function collapse that let it precipitate into physical reality has not been created yet. When I have an omen dream, the wave function collapse already touched down. That future is going to happen, nothing can change it. Now, I never thought I could alter it, I could change it because it felt too big, too overwhelming for me, just me. But as it so happened after I had that dream, or even prior, I was asking all of you, all my students, everybody I know, to pray, ask for mercy, the Koine prayer, the mantra this, the this, that, or the other. I'm sending out to everybody, and all of you were acquiescing in doing all of this. That tsunami occurred on the early morning of January 15. On the night of January 14 into 15, I had a dream of a second tsunami. But this time, the water was up to my knees. And I was making my way up into the top of the mount, and then into a building. And the next thing I know, I'm cleaning all the debris off. And then I go back out, the streets are completely clean, the water's gone. When I woke up that morning, I called Marjorie to tell her about the dream. And then I went out to lunch with my friend Georgie. And at lunch, I told him about the dream. And then when I returned, I went online, and the next thing I know, tsunami because of an underground volcano in Tonga. The experience between what I saw before, 250 foot, at least 200 foot wave, to that experience was altered and changed because of collective asking and prayer, asking for mercy. There's a nuance there about the omen that I didn't understand. I still think it cannot be changed, but I think the lending and how it touched down, the severity of the experience. Because if enough of us awake ahead of time and asking for mercy and for forgiveness, then what's going to happen is that it's going to land softly rather than land harshly. And that's a deep insight for me. That was a huge lesson. Now I can guide the rest of the community when I have these dreams in the future to pray and to do more prayers as a way to alleviate the harsh landings. Any questions, any comments? I've said quite a bit. So any question, any comments about anything that you, of what I said? I know that all of you in your life have friends and individuals that are in the bifurcation, and that some of you may be negotiating how to relate to them. What I'm saying is that there's two categories. There's one that's so radicalized you cannot have a conversation with them because they are not themselves anymore. They've become what the puppet master wants them to be. There's another that's kind of the edge and the perimeter that eventually they might find their way out and realize that there is a different choice. So I'm asking you to have tolerance and to be merciful to them. And if you can hold space for them, they will figure out a way to get out of this. Because I know people that I have channeled with at WESAC that have done all kinds of deep spiritual work with, years of connection, of yearly meetings, etc., that are, again, in the bifurcation, that are had been all up to a month or 2 months ago, posting all this crazy stuff. To my shock and my dismay, and I thought I knew their character, but now thinking about their soul and what I know of their energy, I'm saying to myself, this is a great being. They'll figure it out. I have to accept that everyone is on their own path and their own journey, and that journey is not linear. Just because I caught it up front and I got it, it doesn't mean that everybody will get it the way I do. And I have to accept that they are going to learn this in their own way. Now, this is not to say that I didn't unfriend a few people. There are two people that I didn't know from a can of paint that were posting, they were friends of friends, and they liked a few things I said, and they asked for friend requests, and I accepted it. And they were posting all kind of crazy stuff. One woman was from, I think, from Australia, and she was sending me private messages with all these crazy conspiracy. I blocked her. I don't know you, and I don't want to receive your crazy personal messages. There was another woman who was a member of my community, and I've known her for years, and she came to a WESAC with her husband, and I had to block her because I tried to have a conversation with her one time, but it was impossible to get through. I was softly trying to say that, maybe you should, see this one person. Oh, I know everything. I know everything that there is to know. I am completely aware, blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. And then I'm like, okay, that's it. I'm not saying anything anymore. I'm done. I'm done. And then it took me still months before finally I'm like, this is absolutely bananas. And if I'm opening my Facebook, and she was prolifically posting, so every time she posted, it would show up on my wall, and it was an assault to my intelligence, my emotional maturity, my sensitivity, and the truth. Although truth is a spectrum, part of what she was saying had some validity to it, but it got derailed into crazy territory very quickly. So I had to unfriend her. Any questions, any comments?
Thank you, Pierre, for that. Mati has a sister cousin that is going through exactly what you described. she has so been radicalized that she's alienated her entire family. Her children even won't talk to her anymore. She's really, for an intelligent, generous person, she seems to be lost. But what you're suggesting is that holding space for her and praying that a source will take her on her journey back to herself eventually would be beneficial to her.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely.
And it makes me wonder if some of the worst people that we see, in our opinion at least, as being worst people to promote untruths and dissension, could be in their own radicalized state. I don't need to mention anybody like the Orange Man, for instance.
Yes. Yep.
Is that something we should be holding space for them? And
well, again, you have to use your discernment and you have to evaluate, and that takes time. For example, this man that I was telling you that was trying to contact me to come back into my life because of this retrograde influence, this man is a narcissist. My experience with narcissists, they hardly can change. Okay? And if you, and it's a whole spectrum, and if you're a narcissistic disorder, at the beginning, the early part of it, you probably can change. But when you go deep into the deeper layers of this, you cannot alter, you cannot change. And therefore, there are certain things when these people are, if I'm noticing this is where you are, why am I going to waste my time and my breath? Because to the narcissist, your opinion, who you are, what you are, doesn't matter. What matters is what they project toward the world. Okay? And what they project toward the world is the only thing that is of value. And they will manipulate, they will lie. And to them, they are not lying. Because to them, that's the truth. Their truth is themselves. It's the self-promotion. So when I see people that are in that state, I don't want to have anything to do with them.
Okay.
Because that's a waste of time.
Makes
They're not going to
sense.
change in this lifetime. They're not going to change. And beyond the narcissist and the narcissistic disorder is the sociopath and the psychopath. And you don't want to deal with that, that entire, you don't want to deal with any of that. You and I do not have the mental training to deal with them. So when I notice whether public figure or people that I know that are in that state where everything is about them and their drama, and it's always about the drama and the running around, and everything's being chaos all the time. And it's a way for them to bring attention to themselves. So much attention to themselves that in the friendship, there's no room for me. There's no room for my needs ever. What I am is an appendage. I'm like a jewelry that you're wearing around your neck.
Interesting.
And in this instant, and the reason that and I'm not saying that this is the case for this man, but this is what he did in the past. The reason I was in his life was because I was a healer. And I was the jewel. And every time he got into trouble energetically, because he created chaos all the time, I'm supposed to come in with the fairy dust and blow it and make the darkness go away.
Okay.
So I felt used all the time. And I got nothing out of this except a whole bunch of promises. And they speak grandly of you all the time. When I make my million, I'm going to help you with Guyville. When I make my fortune, in the course of the entire friendship, I received nothing from it except empty promises. I'm not going to step into something like this. It makes no sense. And again, the problem with the narcissist is that and also the sociopath, the psychopath, they are wired differently in their brain. Although the narcissists can have sense of guilt, particularly when you expose them, they have a sense of because they don't want anybody to see them for who they are. That's their greatest fear. But the psychopath is not capable of feeling, not capable, and that's very scary. And it's a small percentage of the population that's in that state. But narcissism is very common. It's like 10% of the population. If the planet is 7 billion people, well, let's say 8 billion people, that's 800,000 people. Much more common than we think. All right, I hope this answered your question, Janice.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. Anybody else?
Pierre, I have a question.
Yes.
I realized recently that somebody I know is involved, is believing in a conspiracy theory.
Mhm.
And it's kind of related to health, like you gave the example
Mhm.
about being afraid to get the vaccines.
Mhm.
Well, it started with not wanting to get the vaccine, and to my surprise, I learned recently that she was watching a video that was connected to Dr. Fauci and health related nonsense.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking if I should talk to her. And I feel kind of like in my core I feel like a resistance.
Mhm.
And I was wondering if you ever had that experience yourself.
I don't want to talk to anybody about this because they're not going to listen to me. Okay? To all
Right.
my friends who are in that space, and I know multiple who are not vaccinated, it's not for me. I still can love you and be your friend as
Yeah.
long as we can have a normal conversation. I don't have to, you don't have to do what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Okay? It would be a preference if everybody on the planet, as far as I'm concerned, were to do this. Collectively, we would end up having a different experience. But it's not for me to decide. Okay? You decide what you want. Okay? But
Yeah.
and I have to tell you that I am not, as long as you're not being, because a lot of the people who believe in that, the one who are radicalized, have a way of screaming at someone who takes the vaccine or shaming them. If somebody is in that state and they're shaming you and they're screaming and they're getting agitated, that's when I begin to realize that person is in the border of being completely radicalized.
Right. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I'm not shaming you for taking your stand. I'm accepting of you. I'm like, okay, you do whatever you want.
Yeah, I mean, I've known about the vaccine and I never said anything because I felt it was your choice. And I understand the fear because she's using other things. She thinks she can manage it with modalities.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, okay, whatever. And and I can understand how you could feel that you want to manage with modalities,
Mm-hmm.
And she also has some underlying heart issues, so that could be making her more afraid to take it.
Mm-hmm.
Which is not surprising.
Yeah.
But what surprised me is the conspiracy theories. This is something new that just happened recently.
Yeah.
And that was a surprise to me. And it's interesting how I guess people have really been manipulated, and
This is deep Lacan manipulation. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, deep Lacan manipulation.
because I honestly be the last person that I would expect, you know.
Yep.
But I had a conversation. I just mentioned briefly that, and I didn't talk so much about conspiracy. I talked more about just Dr. Fauci, that he's just repeating what the World Health Organization is saying,
Mhm.
and whether it will be. I don't see anything publicly that he's saying that's inappropriate or different. And blaming him, it's, you know, it's kind of silly, because if there was anybody else, they would have said the same thing. He just repeats what they say. That's his role. He's the go in between the World Health Organizations and us. And I just meant that I made that one argument and I stopped there. You know, I didn't feel like going any further.
Mhm.
But it's interesting. It's a new feeling for me, where I just feel, just don't even go there.
Yes, yes. Follow that intuition, follow that instinct, because I know way a lot of people who are not vaccinated.
Yeah, and it's not so
And
much.
I don't have a problem with them, and they don't have a problem with me. I made a choice that's different. They made a choice that's different, and we can all coexist and cohabit.
Yeah, but you know, what I'm saying is, not is the vaccination is one thing, but the conspiracy theories.
Man, yeah, I understand, and this is where it begins to go deeper and deeper. And
Yeah,
again, whatever, I'm not, I don't want
but
to get into it.
yeah, no, I'm just had the. It's more about, I have the feeling. It's a new feeling for me, just not to go there. And I think maybe it's just like what you said earlier, that it's the lesson that they need to learn.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
it's almost like, I feel like whatever will be, it's like it needs to happen for them. You
Yes.
know,
I
it's
could
like,
say a lot of things, but it would have to be a private conversation. I don't want to have this conversation in an open medium, because I don't
yeah,
want to,
no, it's fine. Yeah, yeah. I was
I
just,
could say a lot more, but
mhm.
I don't want to have the conversation here because it's too controversial, and I don't want to make anybody upset, nor do I want to create enemies
False
and create, acrimony for no reason.
hmm.
Okay, it's not necessary.
Yeah,
I'm tolerant. I'm accepting. People are making all different choices, and I bless everybody. And again, if I hold space enough for all people, they will get what they're supposed to get. And my experience is not going to be their experience. I'm going to leave it at that,
right,
because
right.
we grow and we evolve differently.
In different ways.
Yes.
Yes, so that's kind of what I was was getting into ultimately. What concluded for me, we just grow in different ways, and it's not up to me to judge that.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else? All right. So what I want to do before we go into our break and in meditation is to talk about the nature of that bridge of the third path. And it's still related to the conversation we're having just now, which is this idea or the concept of three higher emotions: truth, authenticity, and transparency. And those higher emotions, truth, authenticity, and transparency, are not fixed point. They are not like math where x equal -5 or +22. Truth exists in a vast spectrum of knowing. My truth, or the truth of a 5-year-old, or the truth of the galactic masters, or the truth of Lord Melchizedek, are completely different from each, or the truth of God, are completely different from each other. It doesn't invalidate what the 5-year-old knows or understands as being truth, but it certainly is a way expanded awareness when it comes to what God's truth is. So this idea that, and this is where the intolerance or the bifurcation comes in, where everybody is saying, and that energy of truth has been capitalized by the archon and influenced to cause, and this is why all these people are saying, I'm awake, I know everything that's going on, I know exactly what's going on. You don't have to tell me, because they're walking around with their head so big that they're shaking it to one side to another like a bubble head, but they have so much information and they know everything that there is. Yet a lot of what they're holding as truth or half-truth that have been corrupted with laced with lies to manipulate them and to alter their consciousness. And so the awareness that truth can be perceived as a spectrum, as a huge spectrum, and if you can think of it for a moment in that way, that it's not just one thing, instead of it being -5 or +22, it is more a number like pi, an irrational number, a number that will continue ad infinitum. All higher emotions are like that. They're irrational numbers. And they expand and they will never end. You will always calculate it, and the math will 3.14. You have to keep going. It will continue, and you will continue to add to it. So giving that, whatever truth that I hold right now, and this is where I'm asking you to be tolerant of others, whatever truth or understanding that I'm holding right now, that truth has a higher octave. And that higher octave has a higher octave and a higher octave. And there are a whole bunch of other things that are connected to this that I don't see right at this moment. And therefore, I should have the tolerance for myself and the acceptance for me that what I'm perceiving now is a moment in time. I have frozen in time and in space, and I've encapsulated one little bubble of that vast spectrum. Now, in order for me to be able to perceive more, to know more, to see more, this is where neutrality comes in. This is where you begin to realize to yourself, okay, this is the truth as I understand it at this moment. And when I do the query, one of the things I often ask myself about whatever I'm querying on, what is it that I'm not seeing? It's truth related to spirituality or spiritual topic. What am I not seeing? What I'm not hearing? What am I not perceiving? What am I blinded to? And every time I ask these questions, I sit and allow energetically an answer to come to my consciousness. See, the query that we're doing when we were talking about the emerging awareness that's showing up for us, that truth, that light of truth that's right now, if we query the right way, because energy doesn't lie. We ourselves are masters of self-deceit and we lie to ourselves all the time. But if you sit and you ask, you make this query to yourself all the time, the right information that you need will emerge from the field and will come to you. It may not be on the first try, but I guarantee you by the 6th or 7th, when something will show up. And you will know something you didn't know before about that same topic. It will expand into a different facet of the jewel will begin to reflect light in a completely different way. And it will expand and it will expand. And if you keep practicing this, what's going to happen is that you're going to train your consciousness to perceive the entire kaleidoscope. or at least a lot of it will begin to make sense to you. I've described this before as being almost like a fan that opens up, where you begin to see things in a wider range, and it's okay, and that awareness is very humbling, because a lot of time the various things are not necessarily the same. The root cause of the insight could be 3 or 4 or 5 different things that may not seem related, but are all tributary to the experience or the knowing that you're having at this moment. So it's a question of allowing, of being neutral enough and accepting enough, and realize that what you know and what you think, I'm awake, I know exactly what's happening. I know exactly, and I had, you know, every time I hear this, I walk away. That someone that's radicalized, they cannot perceive anything else. They're not capable of doing it. X equals -5 for them right now. It's not an irrational number. They can't perceive it. But if you do enough then and query work, and you begin to ask yourself these questions: what am I not seeing? What am I not perceiving? What am I lying to myself about? And that one is big for me. When I ask, what am I lying to myself about? Eventually I get a hit. Something shows up. And I begin to perceive and get an insight into something I didn't see before. Now, as far as authenticity is concerned, it's the same thing. A lot of these people think that they are being authentic, they are being themselves and all of that. And I have to tell you, authenticity, to my awareness, is not you spewing your rage and your venom out to people. A lot of these people are cursing, and they're being very vulgar, again, because they've been radicalized and they're being asked to be violent, and they think that's them being authentic and being truly spiritual warriors. I see that term a lot in the light community. We're spiritual warriors and we're going to change the world. We're going to, we're going to take over. There's a lot of that going on, and they think that they're being really authentic. And it's my sovereignty and I can do whatever I want, blah, blah, blah. Your sovereignty does not give you license to destroy everybody else's right. Your sovereignty is in relationship to everyone having sovereignty as well. To act in a manner where your sovereignty dominates everyone else, it's you being a narcissist and being a petulant child. So you have to get yourself to a point of realizing what's important. So when you see people and you hear people saying all of these things, again, you have to have a lot of openness, a lot of tolerance toward the experience that they're having. And finally, when people are talking about transparency, and there's a lot of people who are claiming that they are transparent. Transparency doesn't mean what I call emotional flashing. Although I am vulnerable quite often, I expressed to all of you as a teaching tool the process, and I'm vulnerable in front of you, but it doesn't mean that when I am at my worst and I'm emotionally unraveling, that I'm going to go and share my psychosis or my breakdown with the world. And I'm noticing that as well in the light community. and people are claiming that they are being transparent. You're not being transparent. And in fact, a lot of art, a lot of modern art, a lot of contemporary art and music are being created with people spreading, or it could be theater, it could be music, it could be, there are a lot of people who are creating work that are nothing more than somebody having a psychotic breakdown. And people think, oh my God, this is so brilliant. There's no brilliance in this. What this communicates is actually chaos. Now, once you have resolved, it's not that the great masters did not display in their artwork or in their writing, whatever, or spiritual writing, the dark night of the soul and the struggle and everything else. But there was a resolution. There was a denouement. There was an upbeat way of, there was a wisdom. I see a whole bunch of people out there that are spewing, and they think they're being transparent. That's not transparency. That's you spilling out rage, venom, and being vulgar and revealing way too much information than you need to share. So be aware of this, and be aware of the spectrum again of all of these, the higher emotion, because all of them come with a spectrum. What you think is transparency today may not be transparent tomorrow. And again, when these people were claiming they are transparent, none of us are transparent to ourselves, because we lie to ourselves all the time. I know this to be true of me. I have to spend a lot of time querying, and I keep asking over and over again, what am I lying to myself to get to the bottom of my truth? So if you are regurgitating some sort of half-baked theory or concept that you found somewhere else, and you're spreading it to the world, and you think it's the truth, and you think you're having a different experience. I'm not pushing you out, but I just want to be, I'm very aware that you're having a different experience. Any questions, any comments? All right, if there are no questions or no comments, let us take a 5-minute break. And then we'll do the closing meditation on the back end, okay? Take a very deep and slow breath. And as you inhale and exhale deeply and slowly, allow the universal life force that permeates everything to enter into your lungs. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And let your soul and your entire awareness to drop in the middle of your chest. Let your mind and your heart sync with each other. It is as if the center of your entire being is being generated from your heart. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And realize that you can perceive 360 degrees all around you. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Realized that you are surrounded by a morphogenic field of higher intelligence, benevolence, kindness, and higher consciousness. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And notice what you noticed. I release all attachments, fears, and control. And I surrender into the great emptiness and endless luminosity. I release all attachments, fears, and control. And I surrender into the great emptiness and endless luminosity. I release all attachments, fears, and control. And I surrender into the great emptiness and endless luminosity. Now realize that you're immersed in this infinite morphogenic field of superconsciousness. Notice what you noticed. In this vast and expanded awareness and neutrality, what am I not seeing? What am I blinding myself to? What am I not feeling? What am I lying to myself about? The truth will set me free. Show me my blind spots. In the middle of the circle whose circumference is everywhere and whose center is nowhere, I stand in spiritual rectitude and verticality, aligned to universal and cosmic truth. Let the emerging benevolence, kindness, repair, and instantaneous transformation and change of this morphogenic and infinite blessed field transmute my body, my consciousness, my life, and every aspect of my experience in this world into safe passage, into inspired action, into blessings and into miraculous transformation. I am the monad. I am the light divine. I am love. I am will. I am power. I am fixed, designed. Thank you for the blessings. I accept the gifts and I receive with gratitude. Thank you for the blessings. I accept the gifts and I receive with gratitude. Thank you for the blessings. I accept the gifts and I receive with gratitude. Take a very deep and slow breath. And whenever you feel ready, you can open your eyes.
Thank you, Pierre. That was very healing, very revealing, and uplifting. Beautiful.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Wonderful. Anybody else?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yep.
I noticed that we didn't, you know, how we, in the past, we would inhale from the bottom, you know, from the core of the earth and push the energy up. Do you used to do that? That's just, that's like a different exercise, I think, right? It's a little different exercise.
Yes, it is. I'm just going with what I channel live right now.
Mhm. Okay,
Okay.
okay, sounds good. And thank you.
Not a problem. All right. Any comments or any questions that anyone want to have, may have right now? All right. Thank you, everyone. Many blessings to you. I'm going to end the class today. If you're watching us on YouTube, please click the like button to improve our algorithm. Subscribe to the channel. Share this video. I want to thank you for listening. I want to thank all my supporters on Patreon. Deep love to all of you, and I'll talk to you next week. Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Thank you. Love you all.